Friends, welcome back to the Envisions interview series, and thank you for making the time to tune in. Before we get to the meat of this episode, I'd like to wish you all a very happy holiday season from all of us at Vestigo. In case you haven't been following tech news lately, ChatGPT has taken the venture world by storm, with one prominent venture capitalist tweeting, "VCs have spent more time talking to ChatGPT this week than their families." This has made conversational AI a hotter topic than ever, which is gratifying for us because we've been deep into this theme for years. With that in mind, I have the perfect guest to talk about just that in Jay Wolcott and Parker Hill from Knowbl. So without further ado, let's get to my chat with them. Jay, Parker, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Fraser.
Awesome. I believe some of our viewers may already be familiar with Jay, but they probably know less about one of the brightest minds in conversational AI today, in Parker, who we have. So I'd love to start off by both of you sharing a little bit about yourselves and your background. Jay, you go first.
Great, thanks, Fraser. My name is Jay Wolcott. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Knowbl. Spent about the past 15 years as an entrepreneur, mainly in the artificial intelligence and customer experience space. Prior to Knowbl, I was the founder and CEO of Digital Roots, which was acquired by Interactions.
Yep, and I'm Parker Hill. So I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders at Knowbl. So I started my conversational AI journey kind of in the research lab during my PhD. So during this process, I kind of saw all the amazing technology in the conversational AI space that was out there, but then you go to any website, you put the chat bot and you see like, this is a terrible experience. So that's what compelled me to go from kind of this research lab to go into industry. And so over the next several years, I worked with a team building conversational AI, and then realized we were kind of going down the same path of like not having the right technology in place to kind of deliver on the promise of conversational AI. And so that's what led me to start Knowbl with these guys.
Fabulous. And I would win the award for the world's worst venture capitalist at this point if I missed a chance to plug Knowbl, which happens to be a portfolio company of ours. So Jay, why don't you give us the pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, just the opportunity to work with Parker, just one, as you said, one of the brightest minds in this space. But we came together on kind of a common vision. You know, our opportunity here is we want to conversationally enable the world's content. And, you know, I think at the core of everything, we believe in this vision that, you know, customers' experiences with brands should really be effortless and exciting. But with our product, what we've designed here is this unique platform that improves the brand's ability to build and deploy intelligent virtual assistants with just this unthought of speed and ease and scalability that was unavailable in the marketplace when we got going.
Fantastic. And Parker, the world is in fact with talk about ChatGPT. Can you tell us a little bit about what that actually is? And I think, you know, your perspective would be extremely valuable as well.
Yeah, so I mean, at kind of just from a definition perspective, right? ChatGPT is a kind of a fine-tuned model based on GPT 3.5. Basically, to kind of unpack that a bit, right? GPT 3.5 is a large language model. These language models are basically kind of these, I don't know, AI models that are trained on a kind of a specific task in a way that's very scalable. So a lot of these models, you'll see this kind of word prediction approach. And so you can kind of think, right, if you just have millions and millions of documents with natural language in them, it's very easy to make training data for that. I can just mask out some random word from the document, ask the AI to predict what word that is. Now it's kind of learning by doing this, it's kind of learning the relations between these words and everything. And so you start basically you're building this language model to kind of train the AI in a very kind of broad sense. And then the fine tuning piece is where you actually train it to do a specific task. And I mean, I think you could think of this kind of as like an analogy, like training a person, right? You go through your education system, go through college. As you're doing this, right, there's this kind of well-defined, repeatable process where you have textbooks that have hundreds of prompts to do. But then if you put them in the kind of real world, this textbook's prompts aren't going to solve the very, I don't know, the specific problems that you're going to run into in the world. And so that's kind of what that fine tuning step is, where it's kind of this apprenticeship you can kind of think about, right? You have this general understanding of language, and then you kind of have this kind of next step of, I need you to learn this very specific task. And just like an apprenticeship, it's a lot more hands-on, right? fine tuning is it's much harder to get data. If I want to build a chat GPT where we're building a just open answer, question answer dialogue model, that's very hard to get data for. I would have to kind of get a bunch of conversational flows, kind of curate the data, collect the data, versus like predicting missing words, for example. And so it's kind of the same thing where you put tons and tons of resources up front building that language model, and then just a much smaller data set to build upon that language model to do the specific task, which is like the chat GPT kind of dialogue. And then I guess from my perspective, it's obviously super exciting to kind of see how the technology has grown and how we like just years ago, I wouldn't have thought you'd see companies bring these type of things to market so soon. But I think the way to kind of think about this is it'd be like you've gone through school, you've done a year of apprenticeship, and now you're now going to be our chief architect to build a spaceship, right? It's like the jump between this fine tuning and going to production with enterprises and like actually being a full production ready product. These are very different things. And so you can even like OpenAI is very transparent about this. You look at the limitations of chat GPT. It's basically saying like, we can't bring this out to production. It's makes statements that are just factually not true. And you have the kind of risk of it saying things that are just perhaps inappropriate for the audience, things like that. And so from our perspective, right, we can kind of leverage that, right? There's these massive language models. I would say they're not quite at the state where we can do this just open-ended question and answer, but they're at a point where you can do like intent prediction, slot extraction, things that previously, if you used existing models like your traditional BIOS TMs or current neural networks, it's a long, painful data curation process. But if you build upon a massive language model, we can do that with very, very little data. So I guess it's quite a bit there, but yeah.
Well, no, it speaks to one of the reasons that made us so excited about Knowbl, and that we were taking the building blocks of, literally billions in R&D from Google and Facebook and applying it to, a text base that a financial services firm or other sort of high consequence brand has already approved, and just making it conversational. So this should be excellent marketing for us. But Jay, how are your customers and potential customers reacting to the news about ChatGPT, and how is your perception in the market evolving?
Yeah, I think the timing of this announcement has met in a cycle where we've gotten out in the marketplace. We've talked to a lot of brands about what we're doing that is uniquely different. And I think their level of knowledge of these large language models just in general was probably not up to speed with where it needed to be. But when a model like ChatGPT is released, and it's really a kind of an innovative interface where even a non-technical person can get in there and experience the technology and kind of be wowed or excited about the types of results that it spits out, it begins to resonate back with them that that's the type of stuff that the folks at Knowbl were talking about. So for us, it's a major advantage because now all of a sudden, we've got these lead architects and CX people that have to respond to their CEO and answer the same type of question. What does this chat GPT mean? And how can that be applied to our brand? And they already have, an arrow in their quiver and conversations with Knowbl that there's an application that can do very similar capabilities of being able to get in there and have that level of understanding that you see this system represents. But it also negates the risk that you see with ChatGPT, which is this natural language generation. And I think it's that generative context that these enterprises aren't going to be able to deploy. But at Knowbl, we've kind of stitched together on the back end of that, rather than relying on natural language generation that we know a brand won't deploy in this type of approach. We're using their own content that's been approved by their compliance teams to enable the response that's representative of what the brand experience is and is approved by their folks internally. But that same ability to have the really messy language and compile a query to a system of what you're looking for, and it has that really accurate approach to understanding and representing content back. But in our scenario, it's just much different, that it's the brand approved content that powers that. So this is a tremendous announcement for the industry as a whole, a great opportunity for Knowbl to differentiate from that type of tech. And I think it's going to be a really exciting year to see the type of innovation that keeps coming from this.
Well, dare I say it, ChatGPT must be an early Christmas present for Knowbl. Um,
Yeah.
which brings me to my next series of questions. We are in December. Winter is here. We're looking back on all of our accomplishments from the last year, but we also have to look ahead. So, Parker, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask for a prediction. And Jay, you're next. So I'll give you some more time. The CEO's prerogative. Parker, can you make a prediction about what we're going to see in sort of commercial applications of AI for 2023?
Yeah, so I think that like as Jay mentioned, right, there's this new excitement for conversational AI. In the past, right, we had this, it was always like years ago, it was always like, it's exciting what conversational AI will become. But now people have heard Chat GPT and they're like, it's exciting what conversational AI is right now, right? And so I think you start playing with Chat GPT, you play with your business's chatbot, and you're like, what's the disconnect here, right? Why is this one so good and interesting and this one's so terrible, right? And so I think what we're going to see is just the new pressure, the new technology. I expect we're going to start seeing this type of technology being adopted by these businesses. And I think 2023 is going to be the year where we actually see like an experience where you go to a brand's website and the chat is actually your favorite medium. In the past, it's always like you're the last thing you do because you know it's just not going to work, basically. But now I think we're actually going to see those, and I think that's going to kind of have this cascading effect of you start seeing these experiences that actually work well. Users are going to unlearn their bad behaviors of like, if I can't click one of the buttons on the chat bot, it's just not going to work. And you're going to have people actually talking to this in a real form. That's going to allow us to collect new data. It's going to allow us to build better experiences. So I really just think it's going to be like, we're actually going to see transformer models and chat experiences that are actually good in the wild for I think the first year. And then beyond that, I don't, who knows how long it'll be for the kind of slower adopters to kind of pick up. But then you actually see this and everyone will want to replicate that. And I think we're going to quickly see that cascading effect of everyone jumping on.
Love that. I mean, at least for Knowbl customers anyway. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, just kind of, I think Parker said it really well. And in building upon that, I think we're going to see all new ways that customers can engage with brands. I mean, we have interns that work for us that, you know, in the university sector are saying, why would I ever go to a website and do all the same things I used to do if this is available? Like they want to go in and they just want to start talking and conversationally interacting with a brand to get things done, where it's almost like stepping back in time when you go to these websites that don't have that feature available. And obviously we haven't seen the adoption at scale yet, but I think it's really going to change buyers' preferences when they see brands that are easy to do business with, where it is easy to get things done, and it really becomes a desirable feature to drive loyalty between that brand and consumer. But back to the Chat GPT feature, you know, I think one of the things that just kind of scares me about this is God forbid my children find out that this is available, because I don't think the homework sessions will last quite as long, right? You think about like that understanding, but they're going to grow up in an era where this type of technology is available, from what they can do to access information and be able to compile information and respond to things. So a lot of the mundane things and that are really going to be replaced with more strategic thinking, things that require much more effort. And I think what we're going to see in the industry, at least for the enterprise side, is they look to say, what do we do from here? You're going to see a huge reconsideration of the investments that have been made in the previous generation of chatbots and virtual assistants. I think we're already seeing it where they're saying, this isn't meeting expectations. Are we pouring more money after this scenario that isn't going to play out for us in the way that we had initially hoped? So you're actually seeing brands that haven't made heavy investment be able to move faster into this technology, because they don't have to think about, what do I do with all that investment that has been placed in an area that is now outdated. So we see these smaller organizations that might be laggards in a traditional AI sense. They may end up passing or surpassing those brands that have invested millions and tens of millions in dollars in the previous generation of tech. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year to see how this plays out, because we may actually see innovation coming from folks that can move the quickest and build this into some of their core digital ecosystem.
I love it. Gents, it's been a real treat spending time with you, and thank you so much for sharing the insights. Having a quick peek at my calendar, I don't currently have anything scheduled with us to be in person, but I am looking forward to that. And before you go, you know, where can our viewers learn more about you and about Knowbl?
Yeah, thanks, Fraser. Thanks for having us on. It's a pleasure. Obviously, a hot topic, and appreciate you giving us an opportunity to share our perspective. For the users that want to know more about Knowbl, you can visit our website at knowbl.com. That's with a K, Knowbl. So not a traditional spelling, but there you have the opportunity to interact with our virtual concierge on the website as well to get things done on our website. So hopefully you'll see us on a big brand's website soon and be able to remember this conversation. Thanks, Fraser.
Yes, when you eat your own cooking, you become a pretty good chef. Thanks again. Bye.
All right, take care.